right, welcome to the Sustainably Geeky podcast, the show for the everyday environmentalist. My name's Jennifer, and I am joined today by Kris, Stefan, Eugene, and another Jennifer. So thank you guys for joining us. This is our very first episode. We're really excited to be here. And just to give you a little bit of background, this show is part of the Epically Geeky brand, which currently consists of the show Epically Geeky, Marginally Geeky, Epic Roots and Brews, and Epically Geeky Makers. If you're interested in more information about any of those shows, you can visit epicallygeeky.com. And now for a little background on how we decided to start this show. So Kris and I are both on a couple of the shows we just mentioned, and we discovered we're both environmental geeks and really passionate about the world around us. And we thought it'd be cool to start a show about that. So that's how Sustainably Geeky was born. And Eugene here was nice enough to let us join in the Epically Geeky brand. So we also have, as I mentioned, Jennifer and Stefan, who are environmental enthusiasts. So I invited them to be on the show to kind of share their experiences and background and knowledge. And I'll let everyone share a little more about themselves here in a little bit. But we're going to really, the goal of the show is to discuss environmental topics and kind of break down things that may or may not be a little complicated or things that people just want to know a little bit more about. And also to just share tips and, best practices so that everybody can live a little more sustainably. So I hope to learn something, and I hope that you guys learn something in this show that we've started. So the journey to live more sustainably was different for all of us. So I'm going to give everyone a chance to introduce themselves and talk about why they're passionate about the environment and minimizing their impact on the world. And I'll start us out. So I, have always kind of been interested in the environment, but I wasn't particularly outdoorsy growing up. I camped some with the Girl Scouts, and I had an aunt who really helped introduce a lot of things to me, science and environmental, but I wasn't really like super outdoorsy or into sports growing up, believe it or not. I know. It's crazy. Looking at me. Yeah. I didn't really come into this until later in life. And I took some classes in college that were environmentally themed. And it really opened my eyes to a lot of things, our impact on the world. And it really scared me in a lot of ways, made me angry and made me wonder about, what we can do as a species to help curb some of that. So I started doing a lot of research and trying to learn as much as I could about the subject. I didn't go to school for this stuff, but I read a lot. I watch a lot of documentaries. I talk to a lot of people, probably more than I should, because sometimes it ends up fueling my, it triggers me a lot, I guess you could say. And so I've done a lot of that over the years. And then I decided I really want to start, becoming more active in this cause and helping to educate others, and also just, trying to reduce my personal impact, doing what I can to make the world a better place. So I found some groups that are doing a lot of this, like the Sierra Club and the Nature Conservancy, and I got active with some of those. I joined those groups. I use their resources a lot, and I encourage, if you want to volunteer or do anything, there's a lot of great organizations out there, local and national. So I've done that for years. And then a few years ago is really when I became more vocal about environmental causes and took on more of an activist role. So for me, the reason I kind of feel the way I do about all this is because it's a life or death situation, in my opinion. The way that humans have impacted the planet and the way that we've lived for so long has really taken a toll on the chemistry of the planet and made it so that it's not as habitable for us or for other species. And I think that's really unfair, and we know it, and we're conscious of it, and we're doing not a whole lot about it. So, I just think that we have a responsibility as sentient beings to be good stewards to our home and help other, species and people around the world that may not have the same opportunities. So last year, I really wanted to do something big, and I decided I was going to start this group locally that focused on science and the environment, and we called it the Centex Planeteers. And it's been going strong for over a year now. And we have monthly speakers that come and talk about environmental and sciencey topics. And we go into everything from beekeeping to 3D printing, which Eugene talked about, to the state parks, to space travel. So we really try to touch on a bunch of different stuff. And the whole reason is really just to get people excited about science again and the environment, and get people thinking about things they may not have thought about, and get that stuff back into the conversation. Because I feel like as a country, a lot of people just don't think about it. They don't try to talk about it or understand it. And it's low pressure. It's just a social thing. We're not pushing an agenda other than be a good person and live minimally if you can. But we also go out and experience things in the local community. And I'm going to try to do some service projects down the road that'll, hopefully get people a little more active and show that they can make a difference. So that group has been a big part of my life now for about a year and a half. And I decided, kind of based on the response from that and talking to a few of these guys, that I thought we should do a podcast to try to, broaden our reach and get more people involved, and hopefully, just help people learn. So that's kind of my introduction. It's a little long, but I think that this is exciting, and hopefully we will come up with some interesting topics that you haven't thought about, or that maybe you have, and we'll give you something new to think about. So with that, I'm going to throw it to Eugene, since he is sitting right next to me, and let him tell you a little about himself, and then we'll go around the room.
Sorry for the mic noise here. It's a little far away from myself. I'm going to pull it up here. Okay, yeah. So my name is Eugene Stevens. I'm, I guess you'd say founder of epicallygeeky.com. We started several different shows, mostly talking about geeky topics. And I met Jennifer through the local convention that we have here, Geek Fest, every year, which is coming up. So that's we're pretty busy with that, just a little bit. As for my environmental impact, I'll be very honest. I am probably the least environmentally conscious of this group. Yes, I know.
That's why he's here. We're going to convert him.
Well, okay. So let's talk about that. Yes, there are several things I could be doing that, unfortunately, with the area that we live in, it's just so. For example, the town that we live in Killeen, used to have a recycling program that you had to pay for. Had to pay for the recycling program, and they cut it. And it's just like, well, let's just put one more barrier up.
Well, they have a recycle center.
They have a recycle center, exactly.
Yeah, so
but yes,
the curbside pickup.
Exactly. So they made it one step more difficult to be able to do that. But I am conscious of some things. Yes, I definitely should be recycling more. That being said, I'm a crafter and a maker, and I'm a member of the Austin area Ghostbusters. I've got a big event coming up, and I'm sitting here right now. We're recording this in my office at home, and I'm looking at the proton pack that I built, and a lot of it is out of recycled materials. Like literally, it's out of a Pringles can, PVC pipe, a baking pan. I mean, it's literally a crafted, awesome, good thing that stuff that otherwise probably would have ended up in a landfill.
Yeah, you recycle a lot.
I do try to do that. My 3D printing is done with a plastic that is semi-biodegradable. They're working on it, and they keep coming up with better and better versions of it to become more and more recyclable. One of the things I'm really excited about in the 3D printing space is being able to make my own filament, which hopefully they're going to make that. There are machines out there. They're still pretty pricey, but like anything, as time goes by, the price will go down.
Wait, is it like the thing where you throw the plastic in and then it melts it into something?
Basically, yes. It would basically shred the plastic, melt it, and they've got that down. The problem is they're trying to get it so that it outputs at a consistent level, because otherwise that won't 3D print well. But my hopes are eventually that, like say all the plastic bags, and I'm not sure what material which plastic those are made out of, but like say all the plastic bags that you get at Walmart and such, I'd love to be able to go grab all of those, dump it in this thing, and be like, "Hey, free filament!" Like that would be awesome. Another way that I do consider myself contributing is I own my own home and I'm a handyman. Like I didn't used to be. I don't know what it is. The last several years, I became a handyman. So, like for example, the washer and dryer we have, I've ripped that thing down, both of them, multiple times, and repaired pieces on it. So instead of buying a new one and setting them out on the curb, I've definitely extended the life on a lot of things in this household, well past what its original use was. And I would prefer to do that. I mean, occasionally when things break to the point you can't fix them anymore, that's one thing. But that's something that I think a lot of people don't really think about when it comes to trying to keep stuff. Everyone knows, recycle, pull the stuff out of the trash that's in the trash right now and recycle that. But some of these larger things that can be fixed, I'm like, just fix it, or take it to someone to be fixed. In some cases, it may be a $10 part. Yeah. And you're willing to spend $1,000 on a brand new whatever it is when it's literally a $10 part that broke.
Society has gotten to this everything's disposable mindset. Like,
yeah,
we use this cup once, we throw it away. We don't think twice about buying something brand new that can easily be fixed, like you said. But reducing and reusing is a big part of it, not just recycling. So it's all limiting what trash we put out, like you said.
So like I said, I'm probably the least of the group, but I'm coming around. Like I said, I am making an effort in some areas. I'm coming around. So yes, I guess it's peer pressure. You could put it that way. So all right, I'm gonna stop talking because I tend to do that a lot, especially on the other shows.
All right, Kris, do you want to go next? Hear me? Kris, you want to go next?
Oh, sorry. Oh God. Phone's being glitchy.
How Canadian are you?
I know. I'm Kris. I'm the foreigner. I'm from Ontario, Canada, and I know Eugene and Jenn from Epically Geeky. And I guess my eco journey started when I was a kid. I used to go to this summer camp, and it was very farm to table, lots of now they have bunny rabbits and chickens, and there's gardens and compost and everything like that. And it's on Lake Huron, which is one of the Great Lakes up here. And did that for 5 years. My grandparents are farmers, both crop and cattle, and saw a lot of how seasons really affect their livelihood. My grandpa would constantly complain either there was too much rain or not enough rain, and everything sort of depended on that and the seasons. And when I got to college, I went to college for park and forest recreation and ecotourism. So I did that for 3 years, and then moved in with my now husband, and he did not grow up that way. So for us, it was sort of meeting in the middle. Like I bought the, which we lovingly call the hippy dippy stuff for cleaning and laundry and stuff like that. And then it wasn't until about 5 years ago when we sort of woke up and was like, we got to do something. The life we're living, we're just mindlessly consuming, and we're getting more and more into debt, and we're just running this rat race that we don't want to do anymore. So we sold our house, bought a trailer, lived in there for 3 months with our 2 kids who were 7 and 5 at the time. And it was awesome. So we went from about 1,800 square feet. The standard Canadian home is around 2,100 square feet. So it was pretty standard suburb area. And yeah, we downsized to about 206 square feet, and it was awesome. And we had a large breed dog too with us at the time. And it just showed us that we didn't need all that stuff, and the kids didn't need all that stuff. That was the biggest one, is that I think especially parents are sort of sold this bill of goods that your children need all of these things, and the more you give them, the better their life will be, when all they really want is a few favorites and your time. That's it. And yeah, so we had decided that that's what we were going to do. We were going to live in our trailer and then rent throughout the winter, and then live in the trailer in the spring and summer. But what wound up happening is we found a really great little cottage on Lake Huron, and we bought that, and we've been renovating it for the last 4.5 years. And we've been using mostly reclaimed material. And we are now a zero waste family. And yeah, so we try our best. And the kids every year complain less and less and less about how weird our family is. And Ray's been really great. My husband, he's been fantastic. He sort of goes along with all these harebrained ideas that I have, and his eyes have been more open, and he does things now that he wouldn't have done 6-7 years ago. Like if he doesn't have bags with him, he'll ask the cashier if there's a box he can have, or he just carries it in his hands. He'll just gather everything up in his arms and just carry it out like that out of the store. And the kids have been really great too. They're starting to see things, and living at the lake, especially because we have 4 pretty severe seasons here, they're seeing changes. Our winters aren't as harsh as they used to be. Storms are a little bit more intense than they were. We've lost power a few times during the wintertime, and them being comfortable with, okay, so if the power goes out, it's winter, we've got our firewood, we've got things in place, we'll be okay. But you know, it sucks that the power went out in February, and so we're hoping to be off grid one day, maybe not in the near future, but hopefully soon. And yeah, so I do this because I want my kids to be more aware of their surroundings and nature, and just pay attention and be more cognizant of that. And yeah, that's it.
And you post a lot of your stuff you're online, or do you follow a lot of pages, right, that promote this kind of thing?
I do, yeah. I don't have a personal Instagram. I just have one that's full of zero waste. I follow a lot of zero wasters and minimalists, and we post pictures of our renovations. We do all of our renovations ourselves to cut down on cost mainly, but so that we can control the materials that come in and out of the house too. So yeah, and our cottage is about 650 square feet. So it's a bit of a change, but it's nice and it's very doable, and we don't feel cramped at all.
Jennifer, would you like to go next?
So I'm like 10 minutes from my house. So if someone else wants to, I'm like bouncing.
Sorry. What was that? You said you're about 10 minutes out?
Yeah, I'm 10 minutes from my house if someone else wants to go.
Okay. Stefan, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. My name is Stefan Sequeira, and I'm passionate about the environment. Well, passionate's a very strong word, and I take the meaning of words pretty seriously. So I don't want to say that I'm passionate if I'm not actually passionate. Anyway, that's a bit of a rabbit trail, sorry. But I do care about it a great deal. And I think it started back in high school. I was a part of this ecology club. You know, we would do things like watch videos about how the earth was going to pot, but we would actually do things like collect, you know, have collection drives, things like that. But I think where it really started was when I lived in Portland, Oregon from 2006 to 2012. And Portland's really a great place to live for people that care about the environment and just their footprint and stuff. And so I learned a lot there. I went through their master recycler class, and I think that was 11 weeks or something like that. And also, just as a Christian, I feel like because I believe God created the world and everything in it, like it's our responsibility to, you know, take care of it, because it's a gift, and it shouldn't just be misused or mistreated. So yeah, I'm happy to be on here. I'm kind of like Eugene. I don't feel like I'm super environmentalist by any means, but what what little that I do, I'm happy to talk about, and I mainly am interested in learning about what other people are doing. And like, I would love, for example, I think in my heart of hearts, I would love to be a zero waster. And so the fact that you are, Kris, is amazing and inspires me. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Tell me more about this master recycling program.
Yes, that's a
11 weeks.
thing.
What did you do for 11 weeks?
Yeah, it was great. So it's this program that is put on by Metro. Metro is sort of like this quasi governmental entity. It's not like the city of Portland, but it's not the county of Multnomah. It's kind of in between. It's like a regional thing. But anyway, really the goal is to train up people to be not just passionate, but also knowledgeable about recycling in particular, and also other topics related to, green living. But and then the idea is that these people would then go into the community and train others and teach others and kind of, pass on their knowledge. So almost like a viral type thing, which I thought was very clever of Metro.
Green pyramid scheme,
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Where everybody wins because
That's right.
the environment.
And we each got a trip to Tahiti at the end. And
Oh, nice.
no, just kidding.
An emissions-free plane.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was gonna say,
We're
wow.
gonna get there someday, though.
No, I wish. But speaking of ecotourism, I have some friends in Costa Rica. Kris, were you ever in Costa Rica?
No, but I did go to Belize
Oh, cool.
for a school trip for ecotourism, which was pretty awesome.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's me in a nutshell. I do a little bit here and there. I'm no Jennifer Hetzel by any means, but
Who is?
yeah, I think actually I would say the thing I'm most proud of is probably I got rid of 2 different cars, like on 2 separate occasions. I got rid of my car, and I was pretty proud of that. But that was only for a few years at a time. So
that was when you lived in a big city, right? Like,
yeah, that was when I was in Portland.
Something similar.
Yep, and then I was in Sacramento. So
yeah. See, that's the thing about living in Texas. I would love to not have to have a car for everything, but between everything being so spread out and it being so damn hot, it's really impossible to not have a car if you don't live in a city that, we're not built for that. And I imagine if you live even like, any state really that's not compact where you live, but
yeah, pretty much unless you're living in a big city, it's kind of hard, until we get the whole self-driving vehicle thing completely ironed out, which I'm hoping within the next decade that's going to be a thing, because I have no problem having a robot drive me and like getting like to the point that we have 2 vehicles, and I would have no problem keeping the larger vehicle for family trips and just like saying, all right, well, every day at 7:00, whatever, the robot car pulls up and I get in and I go to work. And then there's one waiting for me when I get home, whenever I go home. I'd have no problem with that. No problem at all with that. So it's just, we've got to get to that point.
Yeah, we have to have 2 cars where we are too. Oh, teleportation, please. Yes, somebody work on that.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, but yeah.
Acceptable alternative.
And then, there's the whole transporter thing. You have to figure out, are you really, I'm not going to go, that's a separate podcast. Anyway.
That's Star Trek crap.
Pieces of your body are traveling in the air. Well, anything else you wanted to?
No, I think I'm good. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. We're happy to have you. Jen, are you ready to talk?
Yeah, I finally made it. Perfect timing. Sorry, we got stuck in Austin traffic. My
oh no.
brother was visiting, so I had to take him around the city. Okay, I'm ready. So I'm Jennifer Rawlings, and I actually had a passion for the environment and saving the world since I was a little girl. I don't know if it was like the Captain Planet generation that I grew up in, or growing up in California. And the schools were amazing there, and they did a really great job at just kind of instilling that innate nature of being part of the world, right? Like we live in this place that we kind of live separate from a lot of the time now. Like we don't live in caves anymore. We live in this nice air-conditioned home, and so as a kid, you just don't know anything different. So I think in California, they did a really good job of connecting us with nature. So we went on some field trips where we went to the gold mines, where we could see all of the environmental degradation that happened from the gold mining effort. And I just knew from that instant, like I wanted to try to do when I grew up to help try to save the world. So I'm sure similar, like there was like these, you felt like you wanted to do something to help with what's going on in the world right now. So I went to the University of Texas in Austin and got a degree in environmental science. And
Welcome horns.
Yeah. So now I work at Fort Hood, and I do what I can to try to make things better. I really wanted to go to a place and work where there really wasn't a lot going on at the time, because places like Austin were pretty infiltrated with that kind of thing already.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been there for 12 years, and it's been amazing so far. We did single stream recycling. I was able to start up a food waste composting program. So I think the biggest thing for me is just making it accessible to the general public to be more environmentally conscious, even if they're not aware of it. So we just provide recycling to the Fort Hood residents, and we provide food waste composting, and we do a lot of education. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Real quick, Jennifer, your video's kind of cutting in and out. So I don't know if you want to try to restart that, or maybe just turn that off, because it's being a little, the video part anyways. Your sound is fine, but it may just be the upload or whatever.
Okay. Are you guys all connected to Wi-Fi?
We're on Ethernet here, but I don't know about them.
I'm on Wi-Fi.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm on Wi-Fi.
It may just be the I don't know.
Yeah, it could just be the
shut
distance.
it off and shut it back on. It may just need a reboot. You were fine in the car, and then
Yeah, that's what the odd thing
it's
is.
weird,
is
you got
you were-
home and then it like kind of but yeah,
Okay.
Jennifer and I are on a group called the Centex Sustainable Communities Partnership, which is a group that she helped start several years ago that basically brings together all of the local cities from Temple, Belton, all the way, I think, out to Cove and Lampasas and Gatesville and everybody. And they all have a representative from their municipal governments. And then there's some citizens that don't work for the government. So like me, I'm on the citizens committee. And we, kind of have a mission to help promote sustainability in the local area. And they go to a lot of events and have tables. You guys, we're also doing like a program within the schools to kind of get the kids excited and make it a contest. And so that's a really big thing that, Jennifer's worked on as well. And you've done a lot, like on Post, the whole net zero waste thing. And like you said, starting the compost thing. So she's a really big deal in the sustainability world. And
I don't know. I'll try to stay humble.
Well, I think the thing you're doing with kids is so great, because getting people started in that mindset young is so much better than trying to convert somebody who's, say middle-aged or something. It's just very much more difficult to change that mindset.
When I first started working there, I was really just focused on like the young soldiers, because I felt like waiting for the young kids to grow up to make a change was too late. Like I was like, we don't have time, people. Like this needs to happen, like right now. And it wasn't helpful that you know, a lot of the conferences and things I'd go to in my career, they were basically like, by 2030, if we don't make this happen, like, we're kind of at that tipping point and it's beyond repair. And I don't know if I want to like get on that bandwagon too hard, because it is climate change, you know, everything's changing. But yeah, so I just started out trying to focus on the adults, but I realized to get to the adults, you had to get to the kids. So focusing on families was really kind of where we found our champions in the community. Is once you can get the kids on board and you could get the parents on board, because they kind of force their parents to do it.
I was gonna say, I hear that kids can be very annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
Persistent.
They're
Hey,
very
you need to get this.
persistent.
Why aren't you doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so for those that aren't aware, Fort Hood is the Army post that, you know, we live right next to here in Killeen. And it's technically the biggest or one of the biggest in the country, if not the free world. And they committed several years ago to going net zero waste and net zero energy. Is that correct, Jennifer?
So
Wow, that's awesome.
The Army as a whole is committed to net zero energy, water, and waste by the year 2050. And there was a handful of Army installations that committed to one of those three or two of those three. And Fort Hood submitted for both energy and waste, but we were only selected for waste. But we have been doing a significant amount of effort towards energy as well, just on our own, because we knew it was important. So we just put in, I think it was like a 35 megawatt solar field to kind of help with that.
Cool. Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah, they have a huge solar field the size of like 10 football fields or something ridiculous. A bunch of wind panels out in West Texas where they're getting all this energy, and I think eventually transition hopefully to almost 100. And then everybody's required to recycle and post. Composting, you know, they do that at the dining facilities, the restaurants and everything. So yeah, it's a really impressive operation. And the military takes climate change seriously as a threat, like to national security, which is why it's interesting now that we have different leadership overall to see what's going to happen with that, because they've already committed lots of money and time and resources to, you know, working against that. But yeah, so I'm very proud that, you know, I live next to a post that does all that and that has access. And they do take recycling and compost and everything. You know, if you can get on post, you can put it in their bins, so you don't have to live there or anything. So pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think that's why we really started that Centex partnership with the communities, was because we knew that we couldn't reach net zero waste or any kind of sustainability goals if our neighbors weren't on the same page with us. So I think the whole purpose of the Centex partnership is to educate the city leadership on what they could be doing to kind of help with this overall goal of just being more environmentally conscious.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea of a master recycling class. We should make all city leadership go through one of those.
There you go. Hey,
I totally see that
all the PowerPoints.
I'm gonna stick. Please just don't volunteer to do it, because I'm like, this last thing you just listed. I'm like, I thought I had an idea of everything she's on, but oh my god, I'm if y'all all know her, she's on like more things than I can think of. Like,
yeah, and I don't always do all of them very well, but.
It's all good though. You're trying though. Like,
trying.
There you go. That's what matters.
Yeah. So,
that's so
awesome.
true.
Well, Jennifer, did you have anything else to add or talk about?
No, not really. Just want to thank you for putting this all together. I think the thing that you're trying to do.
Thank you. Thank you for your thank you. So I guess we'll just kind of open it up to the next part of our show. So typically we would have a topic going forward. We'll have a topic each show where we'll discuss different things. Each episode will have a different theme. Since we were doing introductions tonight, that's kind of our topic. But I do want to have a segment each show where we talk about a green life hack. So if you have a product or just some really cool practice that you've recently discovered or that you just think is awesome and you want to share with everyone, this is where we'll talk about that. And I did not bring my green life hack tonight, but I was going to show you guys. It's really not that interesting to look at, but mine is a pumice stone for pilling on shirts and sweaters, because I just discovered this and I feel really dumb for not knowing that this was a thing and that it was as easy to use as it is. But I've always used those little machines that, you know, you shave your sweaters and shirts with, because I hate the pilling that you get on them. It drives me nuts. And it always ripped holes in them or didn't work. So I did some research and found that you can just get a pumice rock, you know, like very finely, with very fine pores, and it works amazingly. So it's all natural. It's very, you know, low impact and easy to use. So that's mine, and it's kind of lame, but
no, that's not lame at all. That sounds awesome.
It's really cool. So, who would like to go next?
I recently started using essential oils and making my own cleaning products and like laundry detergent. And I was kind of amazed at how it all turned out. I bought a lot of ingredients to mix a bunch of recipes together from Pinterest, and it actually turned out pretty well. So now I'm not putting a bunch of chemicals into the water.
I'm very intrigued by that, because I always think, oh, that's so much work and time, and does it actually work? But everybody I've talked to has said it's pretty legit. So I need to give it a shot.
Jennifer,
the products that you're buying, you're paying for water and packaging and transportation of that water. So like most of your laundry detergent is like water.
That's true.
So yeah, I actually ended up saving money by just buying a few key ingredients and experimenting with a couple different recipes.
Jennifer, what's like a good website that has instructions on how to do that stuff? Like put those together?
There's so many, and I actually bought a lot of books as well. So maybe next time I can highlight all of those. But honestly, some of the better recipes I found were just on Pinterest and like typing in whatever specific product you're wanting to make.
Ooh, we could do a show where we make the stuff on the show, and you know, I think that'd be cool. Show us what it looks like and how to mix it. And yeah. Anyways, awesome. Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Less what?
It's less intimidating when you can see, you know, someone doing it and that it like actually works, right?
Yeah.
That's always the problem with Pinterest, though, is, you know, some of the stuff on there turns out great and you're just like, wow, as advertised. And some of it you're just like, you are a liar.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Exactly.
I think, but now that you know how to make this stuff, you can make these things for gifts. Like, that's cheap and it's thoughtful and it's homemade. You know, it's like the coolest gifts.
I have a great deodorant recipe that I've been using for like 3 years now. I love it. It's super easy. It's like 3 ingredients.
And it works. Would it work in Texas? Because
yes, it
remember she was down here.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
I was going to say I could attest to that. She smelled good when she was here.
Yeah, I need that because I hate having to buy deodorant and then you know Tom's does not work. Okay, I've tried Tom's.
I use salt. It's like salt crystal.
Oh.
And you put like you run it under water.
What? It's so crunchy. I love it.
I mean, that actually works, but if you sweat or you get like in the water, you just have to reapply like every like 30 minutes. But it's like legit.
Well.
And I'm convinced that it's way better than whatever chemicals are in the sunscreen that we buy.
So you said it's a deodorant or a sunscreen then?
So I made a sunscreen.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah.
So cool.
That's interesting.
I want to learn how to make that. Is it coral safe sunscreen?
It should be safer than all the other crap we put on our body.
Yeah. True. You can pronounce that versus
I was
benzonatate, whatever. Yeah.
I was waiting for her to say, no, it's big chunks of coral it takes to make. No.
I mean, they're all natural. I don't know if like shea butter is for coral. I'll have to Google it.
I think there's
Well,
just 2 chemicals. Yeah. Go ahead.
I got one that I'm excited about. I recently installed faucet aerators, and so I put they're basically just these little adapters that you put on the end of your faucet, and it saves a ton of water. And I just did this like last week. They only cost like less than $5 from Home Depot. And what it does is it just kind of is like a mesh. And so it forces the water through these, small openings. And I put like 3 that save 75% of water. And then I put one on our kitchen faucet that saves 30% water. So, I mean, man,
But
I cannot wait to see our water bill.
they give you enough pressure though when like it still feels like.
Yeah, it's basically, it's like the same amount of pressure, but just less water. It's sort of like, when you go into a bathroom, like a public bathroom in like an office building or something, or like an airport, and it's kind of like, instead of this like full stream, it's like these little jets, that come out. So it's kind of like that.
Cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
and my wife was okay with it. She gave it the thumbs up. So,
well, I'm interested to see what Amanda says when you start making your own deodorant and laundry detergent.
Yeah, we'll see. She might draw the line there.
Yeah. She's been a good sport though about all the other stuff, because she's pretty new to a lot of this, and she'll come to me and say, okay, what do I do with this or that, or what does this mean? So
yeah, no, she's on board, certainly with the recycling for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kris, did you have one, or was the deodorant yours? Amazing.
I have one. Although the deodorant is pretty fantastic. So to cut down on plastic bags and spontaneous trips to wherever, I have 2 foldable reusable bags in my backpack at all times. My backpack is my purse, and they're just in there constantly. So if we are out and about unexpectedly and we need a bag for something, I've got it. I've put corn on cob from a road stand in there, the kids' bathing suits. When we went out shopping to the mall, I just shove everything in there, and they're pretty expandable. You could shove a lot in there. And it's just the easiest, quickest way that I could think of to cut down on one of the biggest throwaway plastics, is just have a foldable reusable bag in your purse or whatever at all times, because then it's just there.
Are plastic shopping bags as big of a thing in Canada as they are in the States? Like, do they have them at every store, or do they kind of expect you to bring your own bag?
No, they have them at every store. What most grocery stores do, I think all grocery stores now charge you for them. So they ask you in advance if you're going to need bags or not. So then while they're bringing all your food through, they count out how many bags that you've used and charge you for that. One of the grocery stores I go to, they save all of their boxes from all of the food and produce that they get, and they put them at the end of the tills in this big bin. So if you've forgotten your bags, or you don't want to pay, I think it's like 5 or 10 cents per bag, you could just grab one of those cardboard boxes, and they're free, and you just fill them up that way. But yeah, their plastic bags are everywhere here, everywhere.
Yeah, Aldi style. They don't do bags.
Yeah, I think the only place that doesn't charge for them is Walmart.
Oh, wow. Walmart.
Give it time.
Yeah.
Give it time. If Walmart can figure out a way to cut down or make $1 on it, they'll figure it out.
Speaking of plastic bags, who's got a cat poop solution?
You have to teach him how to go on the toilet.
Teach him to go in the toilet?
Yeah, my friend just did it. He said it took a year, but it works now. Now you don't have to buy.
You don't make a mess?
No. Because I thought about it, but
incredible.
Mine are all geriatric or senior cats, and they're not going to learn at this point.
No. I have a friend, too, that's trained them to go outside, but she has a doggy door, so they can get in and out. But her certain part of her lawn is her, kitty box, basically. But I don't know if that's an option where you are, because you don't have a fenced-in I don't think, right?
We don't, no. But I like that idea, though. Basically, turn it into fertilizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And smell cat pee sometimes. Keep it relegated to one part of the yard, I guess.
Well, if it's in grass, it would be bad. You wouldn't smell it, but yeah. So, which is why we don't have a sandbox outside. I was going to say if I had one, it would be to go along with what I talked about that I do, YouTube. It's one thing to try to read how to repair something to save it. It's completely different to sit down and watch someone else do it and go, I can do that. And honestly, that's the mentality you have to get is it's already broken. What are you going to do? Break it more? Give it a shot. You know, you may find out, wow, that wasn't that hard. Like literally all I needed was a screwdriver and it was a 10-cent part that if I called a repairman, it was going to cost me $150 for the call and this, that, and the other. And you can save a lot of money that way. Like I said, you can keep stuff from, ending up in the trash or anywhere else. Just like I said, if it's already broken, give it a shot. Try to repair it yourself. And if it works out, great. Now you've got a story and it'll give you confidence. If it doesn't, then
call your friend Eugene, which I've done before.
Or you're not out anything anyway. You've got a learning experience. You gave it a shot, so.
Man, I wish I would have talked to you yesterday.
Oh, what did you do?
Our AC went out. The guy came out, fixed it in like 5 minutes. Turns out it was a capacitor that just needed to be replaced, but had to pay him $130.
Yeah, capacitor. Yeah, I've electrical work is sometimes a little questionable, but like anything mechanical, like the washer and dryer we have are a little bit older. Like I've changed the transmission on a washing machine, and like my dad was even like, how hard was that? I was like, it wasn't. Like I had to go buy a bigger socket set, but I'm like, it really wasn't. I said, I think that it ran me maybe $30 on Amazon for the part, and then whatever I spent on the socket set. But I mean, that's tools that I can use other places, and that's easily $200 or $300 repair cost or whatever. So and that's my wife likes to buy things in bulk or whatever, or when they're on sale and say, hey, look, I saved you money. And that's how I say, hey, look, guess what, I just saved us $150 on a call. So but yes, YouTube.
Yeah, I think you could probably find videos on how to make a lot of the stuff Jennifer was talking about too on there. I mean,
I'm sure
there's YouTube videos for everything these days.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, that is the show. If you don't mind, anybody that's watching, please, you can find us on Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. Anything else? Anywhere else?
Those are the main three.
Okay. So please follow the podcast, share it with your friends, give us a 5-star rating. This show will be posted under the Epically Geeky channel, correct? So like the Epically Geeky channel, and you should see this show up in between the others, so you can listen to whichever ones you want. If you just want to do this one, that's fine. But we invite you to also check out the rest of them because they are all awesome. And everybody, if you wouldn't mind, just let us know where to find you online via social media or on the website or wherever else you're comfortable sharing. Eugene, would you like to?
I sure will. You can, of course, find everything at the site at epicallygeeky.com. And then epicallygeeky.com. You can find Epically Geeky on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. And then, of course, the YouTube channel. But if you want to follow my individual wacky adventure, you can find me at Optimus Gene on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Kris, where can we find you online?
On Epically Geeky, Marginally Geeky, and I think on an upcoming episode or 2 of Epic Rhythm and Brews for Lainey's decade series. And then just on Instagram, you can follow our renovation process and just small house living at Cedar Birch Cottage.
Awesome. Jennifer, where can we find you online?
So I'm on Facebook, just Jennifer Rawlings, and I'm also the new chair of the Centex Sustainable Communities Partnership. So you can go to centexsustains.org, and any message that you send will go straight to me.
Awesome. Stefan, can we find you online? I know you're very hidden and obscure. So.
No, I avoid social media like the plague. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Het's Gonna Be Me. You can sing it if you want. Het's Gonna Be Me. And yeah, on epicallygeeky.com, and all around the Central Texas community. So thank you guys again. Feel free to suggest any future topics through the pages that we've mentioned. And we hope you've enjoyed our first show. Have a good night.